It seems that Manchester United are pivoting away from Victor Gyökeres as their primary target for the centre-forward position, with Hugo Ekitike, the young French striker from Frankfurt, emerging as a primary target for the Red Devils. What kind of centre-forward is he and what kind of firepower could he potentially bring to the Red Devils? Without any further ado, let's analyze. All right, so let's get started by looking at some of the skills that Hugo Ekitike brings to the football pitch. So Ekitike is quite the modern striker, as we can see here in this game against Freiburg, and he does this quite often. He doesn't just operate in the box, but he likes to actually drop into these spaces between the defensive and the midfield line. He likes to move into the channels, receive the ball. And as you can see here, aesthetically, he actually reminds me a lot in how he dribbles to someone like Robin van Persie or even Mason Greenwood. Check this out. Look at this. I mean, look at those step overs. Very quick, very agile, good with both feet as well. That was a very good center-forward sequence. In this game against Leipzig, this was a great game that I've watched mainly to observe him and Benjamin Sesko, who is a very interesting striker. Here, as you can see, he's quite adept at attacking these half spaces and channels over here. Again, same thing, step over, he's quite fast, very hard to knock off the ball. But what I like about this is that because of his dribbling ability, he's able to drag defenders towards him, which frees up these spaces where it creates chances for his teammates. This is extremely important because under Ruben Amorim and Erik ten Hag as well, in fact, if we are being honest, since Sir Alex Ferguson retired, we are not creating enough high-quality chances. And we put that a lot on the quality of the players. But the truth of it is that we don't have players that create huge zones of influence. Ekitike is definitely one of those players in that he just attracts the attention of the opposition so much that it creates spaces for his teammates. And here, of course, sometimes he doesn't have to play off his teammates, as we can see in this sequence against Spurs, where he scores this magnificent goal in the Europa League. Again, same thing, moves into these areas, receives the ball, and then dribbles with pace at the defenders. It's just a nightmare to defend against for every defender. And here again, we're gonna see, like every time in the counter-attack, Frankfurt are pretty much a transition team, and so Ekitike is absolutely essential to the way they play. Here again, receives the ball, could have gone to the left, to the right, but then here Christensen, as he's making a run into space, Ekitike again, he likes having the game ahead of him, and he's actually quite creative and quite potent with how he creates. In this sequence again, we're gonna see that same concept, which is how his dribbling ability means that he is too hard to ignore, therefore attracting a lot of attention from the opposition. In this case, as you can see, the opposition defenders here, two of them are, attacking him, which frees up space for Knauf right there in order for him to score. Ekitike is also quite potent in playing in behind the defense in that poacher role. For example, here against Hoffenheim, he was receiving the ball into space. I like how he, with one touch, he positions himself in front of the defender, just making it absolutely impossible for the center back to stop him unless he wants to get a red card. And then here, when he's face-to-face with the keeper, what I like about this is that he does something that we don't see many young players doing. In fact, many center forwards don't do this anymore, which is to go around the keeper. As you can see, he positions himself slightly to the left, and then he just gonna go around the keeper in beautiful, Ronaldo de Nazario fashion. I love seeing center forwards finishing this way. He's also quite a creative and a potent creative force. When we talk about hold-up play, a lot of times we focus on the physical attributes, okay? You think about this big man, forward, tall guy, the attributes such as strength and balance, aggression, etc. But hold-up play can also be done through technique. And Ekitike is quite balanced in that he can do that physically, but also technically. Another example of that is a player like Berbatov, for example, who was very good at hold-up play without really being, quite a, physical force of nature. He was more elegant than he was strong, right? Same thing with Ekitike right here. He's able to keep the ball under pressure. And then what I like about this is that both of these players right here are good options. But Ekitike is going to make a weird choice, which also turned out to be quite a good choice right here. As Arthur Theat here, the left back, is moving into this space, he anticipates that run, and then he plays this ball, just taking everyone by surprise, probably Theat as well. But that was a very good piece. It just shows you the vision that he has. In this sequence against Hoffenheim, same thing. Again, he receives the ball, and then he doesn't think. He doesn't think twice. You have to play fast. If you want to create chances, if you want to take the opposition by surprise, you have to play fast, okay? fast, incisive football. I say that in my videos a lot. And here, just one placed pass into the path of his teammate. And players, we have a few players who enjoy this. You know, Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, Amad Diallo as well. You know, they enjoy making these runs, you know, beyond the central forward. And so Ekitike, Bermu, if we end up signing him as well, these are players who could definitely enjoy playing with a player like Hugo Ekitike right here, because he just thinks fast and everything just moves fast with him. And also, what I like about this is just how good he's in the box. He's also a fox in a box kind of player. Here, of course, we can see that link-up play that he does, you know, with that beautiful back heel. But then what I like about the sequence is this. As the shot is about to come in, Ekitike reacts faster than anybody around him. And this is what allows him to score this goal, is because by the time there is a rebound, he's the first one to react to it. That's not an offside. That's a goal. He's also able to participate in scoring goals from, you know, unlikely areas. So, for example, here, Dortmund were quite safe, but then Ekitike plays off Christensen. By the way, good partnership here between the right back and the center forward right here, moving him into space, but then he doesn't stop there. As you can see, there are two targets, but he is determined. You know, he's got that Cristiano Ronaldo type determination in that he wants to be at the end of the crosses. He wants to score the goals. And so he's going to make this long busting run into space in order to be at the reception of this cross. And that's a beautiful center forward goal. Another thing about Ekitike is that he's also a proper center forward. When was the last time we've had strikers that scored headers? I think Xerxes scored a couple this season. But I think Ruben Amorim in the game against Lyon said that Harry Maguire was one of the few players who could score a header at Manchester United. Well, Ekitike, he's definitely capable of doing that. As you can see here, he asked for the ball, he positions himself in the back post, and then he beats the man in the far post. Look, I mean, this jump right here, I mean, look, his leg is over the shoulder of the defender. You know, this is reminiscent of that Cristiano Ronaldo header for Real Madrid against us when he just jumped over Patrice Evra, right? So again, he's quite athletic. He can score beautiful headers. For example, here again from a corner, beautiful into the near post, and then it's just a bullet header. Look at the pace on this header. It's like a shot. It's absolutely amazing. And another thing about Ekitike is that not only is he fast and a threat in behind, but also he's quite determined and a hard worker. For example, here against Bayern. By the way, in this game, Frankfurt lost 4-1. And yet still, Ekitike somehow was one of the top 3 best players on the pitch. And here, the goal that he scored, here he's chasing and hounding Mukiele, who thought that he did a good job. But here, Ekitike is back. He intercepts the ball, takes it away from the goalkeeper, and then that's a beautiful goal. Again, just showing that grit and determination that Ekitike has, that every successful striker needs to have. All right, many of you are going to say, well, Mr. Scarlet Report, all of this sounds good, but what's the catch? Well, the first thing is, of course, the fee. However, that's beyond the scope of this video. Let's wait and see. There are a lot of fees, a lot of amounts that are just thrown away, a lot of numbers in the press, but we don't know what the actual fee that Frankfurt requires. Based on historical data, with the Colomwani deal, the Marmoush deal, probably it's going to be somewhere around 80 to 100 million, but let's wait and see. Like I said, that's beyond the scope of this video. What I'd like to talk about instead is one of Hugo Ekitike's areas of improvement. He is not as clinical or as ruthless as you'd like a striker that plays for Manchester United to be. And that's evidenced by the fact that he ranks last in the top 5 leagues in Europe when it comes to non-penalty goal minus expected goals. That means that he scores less than expected. But this is a classic case of when you have to look at stats and put them in the right context, because Ekitike also tops the charts when it comes to expected goals in the European top 5 leagues, right behind Guirassy from Dortmund and Lewandowski from Barcelona. And what this tells us is that this young man is actually able to craft out chances for himself, okay? Why am I saying this? Is because Frankfurt, even though they rank 3rd in the Bundesliga this season, they rank 8th in both touches and passes completed. What this shows us is that they're not a team that dominates games. They don't dominate possession. They are more of a transition/possession kind of hybrid. And in this type of environment, to have a striker, and especially a young striker like Ekitike, to rank 3rd in the European top 5 leagues, that's actually quite the achievement. And it just shows that he is actually quite good with his technique, his dribbling, his power and pace. He's able to actually craft out chances for himself, and he's not as reliant on the service from his teammates. Now, When you look at these two aspects of what makes a potent striker, it's kind of a chicken or the egg kind of situation. You know, which one would you prefer? Which one comes first? Which one gets the priority? Would you rather have a striker that is clinical and who scores most of the little chances that he gets? Or would you rather have a striker who is a little bit more wasteful, but who also is able to create more chances for himself? Now, this is a matter of opinion, but if you ask me, you know, personally, I believe that if there is one thing that improves with experience, it's definitely those, ice cold nerves, okay, composure. That means that a striker, as he grows and as he gets more experience, he becomes more clinical. However, things, like movement and, dribbling and anticipation and reading the game and, these are actually much harder to teach a player. So I think if you have a young striker who is already good at creating a lot of chances, but he doesn't finish them, that's actually much easier to work with than having a striker who is a little bit more clinical, but who is not as, effective at creating and crafting out chances for himself. A player like Ekitike, the way he moves, if you pair him with players like Bruno Fernandes and Cunha and Amad Diallo, for example, he could be quite potent in the Manchester United setup. Equally, he's quite good at creating chances, and with his movement and versatility, he could actually create a potent trident with players like Mbeumo and Cunha at Manchester United. Anyway, guys, what do you think about Hugo Ekitike? I hope that you've enjoyed this player analysis video. If you'd like me to do other player analysis videos, please just let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about Ekitike. If you're not a big fan, who would be your alternatives? Until next time, cheers.